prices are rising and it hurts.
Grocery prices in the US are starting to climb
So
again.
those rising costs from gasoline to groceries to rent, prices, they're just soaring.
Rents have more than doubled. They increased by about 5 to 8%.
The great Aussie dream is slipping further out of reach for first home buyers, with 2/3 of young people giving up on home ownership.
Healthcare spending is rising around the world.
100 million people in this country currently have some kind of healthcare debt.
Saskatchewan has the shortest median total wait at 15 weeks. However, people in New Brunswick are waiting 10 months, the longest in the country. And this problem is getting worse.
In some countries, the wait time to get health services can be very, very long. If there's an accident overseas and you end up in hospital with a surgery, it comes to the tens of thousands of dollars.
As we have a more aging population going forward, healthcare demand will increase, so that could lead to sustained healthcare inflation. The major components for inflation will be housing, transport, as well as food.
I think we're in a very different era compared to what it was, with a lot of the rapid developments. These are problems that are actually quite universal. In all of my travels, I've not come across a single country that is sort of spared from this thing. And even before in my corporate life, this is one of those issues that we deal with consistently. I think what we have going for us, particularly in Singapore, is that our government has been able to provide consistency in terms of policies, in terms of measures, and that constant focus, that singular focus towards improving the livelihoods of all of our fellow citizens, and also to make sure that they continue to stay ahead of the disruptions and also keep up with the pace of change.
We have been furiously reflecting on all the things that's happening around us. We have the fortune of being a young country that gives us a bit of time to kind of look at what's happened elsewhere and to see what some policies result in.
I know the government has got many things to look after for a young nation. Education, having jobs. But now, the population is aging. So I think in the last 20-30 years, there have been a lot of policies to make aging better.
When do we hear about centenarians, people who live past 100 years old? You actually read about it on the Guinness Book of World Records. Nowadays in Singapore, we see patients who are above 100 years old, and it's actually getting quite common, and they are still relatively healthy, mentally capable. And back in the day, we know that people in the island of Okinawa and Japan, they live to a very ripe old age, right? Because of the fresh air, the fresh seafood. But in Singapore, we're not really like that. We're a highly dense population, kind of stressful, and our food isn't really exactly very healthy. So it's very interesting to note that Singapore can be designated as a blue zone. It's not because of what we have naturally, it's not natural, but how we design our policies to enable our citizens and residents to live healthier and longer lives.
Housing policy is the hallmark of Singapore. Today we have managed to successfully create affordable housing for most Singaporeans. Now the challenge forward is how are we going to allow our Singaporeans to largely age in place in the comfort of their home. We have to think about how can we creatively adapt our existing homes.
If you look at countries like New York itself, right, the old building remain old. In Singapore context, the old building get rejuvenated. Even within the unit itself, we have electrical upgrading. These are the things that actually very well taught by our government over here. I'm quite certain, or rather, that you don't see such upgrading in most countries. You don't see such upgradings. Old building remain old, but here our old building get younger.
It's also thinking about new typologies for our seniors to live near facilities that they matter. An example is Kampong Admiralty.
Very often, right, we take care of the seniors when they are actually physically not so able already. For Kampong Admiralty, the project thinking, right, starts before. Being an integrated development, the program mix is unique in a sense because it's actually integrating public housing for the elderly which is a 30 years lease for people 55 years and above. The beauty of this development is that everything is at their doorstep. The healthcare is at the doorstep, so specialist doctor from the nearby hospital set up clinics here, so that they can make appointments and not having to travel out to hospitals to see their doctors, because this could be routine checks and things like that.
And this will not just benefit seniors who are frail and living within this area, but it will also be almost like a mothership for seniors, not just that massive Kampong Admiralty block, but also the surrounding blocks to benefit from access to these facilities and services that the seniors desire.
Polyclinics are very affordable, but there are only certain opening hours, and the services can be oversubscribed, and waiting times could be a bit long. The general practitioners, the GPs in the private sector, provide a lot of services, and the main one is actually the accessibility. They're open for longer hours, they're open on weekends, and they're near to the patients' homes. Right? Typically, every major housing block have 3 or 4 GPs on the void decks. How do you harness the accessibility of private GPs? Schemes such as the CHAR scheme, and then also the Pioneer Generation and Merdeka Generation cards. Right? This actually allows subsidies to be used at private GPs and private healthcare providers. So it actually offloads the load in the polyclinic to the private GPs. And of course, if they've got chronic conditions, not just 1 or 2 or more, then the subsidy increases. And it really has covered a lot of the healthcare costs for patients, and they find it not just cheaper, but easier to see a family doctor.
As we all know, many countries, pension funds have difficulties in taking care of the seniors they are caring for. But in Singapore, we have been working hard to make sure that retirement adequacy is sufficient for most Singaporeans. And how we do this is by encouraging our seniors to save from the first day they work, as well as to help our seniors with additional support through CPF, and also to make sure that it's not just them, but their employees contribute to the CPF, and as well as to create incentives so that they can continue to work far longer than their peers in other countries. All these will ensure that our Singaporean seniors are in much better shape than their counterparts in the rest of the world when it comes to retirement adequacy.
PAP SG Seniors Group is formed with the focus of making sure that every Singaporean has the opportunity of enjoying a good retirement. And PAP SG has been singularly focused on making sure that we continue to nudge the government to continue to expand policy space, to extend the runway in terms of the productive aging for our seniors, particularly if they should choose to do so. And so you can see some of the measures are really being implemented, albeit progressively. How do we ensure that they have adequacy in terms of their retirement? What we intend to do is to continue to raise the CPF contribution rate. Through that itself, it allows them to actually create a bigger nest egg. We've gotten the government to committed that by 2030, the retirement age will be raised to 65, and correspondingly, the re-employment age will be raised to 70. So our seniors, should they choose to do so, they can continue to work productively all the way until they are 70, and possibly even beyond. And then on top of that, we also make sure that we now enact laws. In fact, I'm going to come up sometimes towards the end of the year to present a bill into Parliament itself on workplace fairness legislation. And this is a significant, very landmark, historic move for us in Singapore itself to pass this into a law where we protect age as a protected characteristic. We also work very closely with the Ministry of Health to make sure that all of us, as our life expectancy extends, the healthy lifespan should also go in tandem.
A plan like the Healthy SG was actually quite a big step. And the important thing about Healthy SG is this idea of patient enrollment. That is a big shift, you see, because it's actually a well visit. It's no longer, you're sick and then you see a doctor. Family doctors are trained for preventive healthcare. And you need to have a policy like Healthy SG to get them to walk through the door. If they walk through the door, we can do many things, right? To detect early diseases, to give vaccinations, right? To check for cancers, for example. And all this can only happen if there are policies in place to allow patients to come and see us.
Life is transient, and this last stage, for me at 82, I'm lucky already to be seeing this age. I think the government initiative of focusing on health span is a wonderful initiative. We feel we are being thought about, and there is actual care, for the aging population.
In the past, the concept of retirement was very fixed. You work till you're 55 and you live till you're in your early 60s. But look at where we are today. We are on track of being the longest living society in the world. And that means a whole new set of possibilities for our people. It means that we can have multiple career switches, we can explore different interests, we can go for new adventures, we can take a break and then come back with even more passion and purpose. And so we need to rethink and reimagine what retirement can be like.
We have a friendly match, 15 ball, 4 of us to play this pickleball game.
We play on a daily basis, Monday to Sunday from 9 until 10 plus. The benefit that we have here is to gather together, play the game of pickleball. After that, have some laughter, some coffee, snacks and all these things. End of the day, health is in your own hand. If you don't keep yourself healthy, then you have burden to yourself with illnesses and all these things, not only yourself, your family. And then visiting doctors, you got to pay for all these expenses. So if you're healthy, minimize or cut down the so-called illnesses.
My wife and I have always enjoyed trekking, and we do quite a bit of that. Well, I've been to Nepal for about 16 times. People always joke and I always say Nepal is like my second home, Turning 55 is an interesting journey. You do things that you are, that it's in sync with your spirit.
I only got my driving license after I turned 50. And it was a sense of empowerment that now I can, zip here, zip there. And every day is like a treasure hunt. You learn new things. It may be very small things, but it may be big things. But it's always a learning process. You never stop learning. The young ones can teach you as much as you can mentor them. You owe it to yourself to live your life to the fullest.
Singapore will be an example in Asia. It will be a country where people are well informed, well connected, and I think the kindness will actually enshrine. I hope to see this Singapore culture emerge, where you help people in need. And it's this Confucius theory. You don't feed people fish, you teach them how to fish. I think that's what we are all about. Be self-sustained, resilience, and I think this is what it will be when the nation goes forward.
PAP is more than a party of ideas and ideals. It's also a party of action. Many of us serve in MPS, Meet the People session, and we all know that many Singaporeans, especially our seniors, face a unique set of challenges, and therefore it is important that our party activists step up and help them journey through their difficulties and complexities in life.
The whole exercise really is to proliferate the space with different types of examples of activities that we can do for our community. So I invite all branches, branch chairmen, activists, if you have an idea as to how we can actually do refreshing programs that can help support our elderly, put it forth, share with us, and we can build this whole community and ecosystem of sharing best practices. And if you see anything that's useful for you, take that back, translate it, create energy amongst your activists and allow them to actually reach out to many other seniors who may benefit from some of these programs.
The playbook should be a springboard for people to go where no one has gone before, because the future is what we make it out to be. A blank page where we can come together and articulate, sketch out our ideas and see how we can then come up with a nuanced path moving forward.